you. Good morning. I will try and speak slowly so that it can be translated well. First of all, I just am so grateful for the opportunity. It's incredible to be here. I haven't been to Hungary before, and Katalin was kind enough to show us around Budapest yesterday, and I don't want to go home, to be honest. But it's beautiful. I'm just going to share with you a bit about the journey in police in New Zealand and what that's looked like so far with Solution Focused and what it might look like in the future. So hopefully this translates well. So just to give a bit of an understanding of the country I live in. So we're a small country down at a very long way away from here. So there are 12 police districts in New Zealand. Where I live is in Easton on the east coast of New Zealand. And so we have 15,000 staff, mostly police officers, but also non-sworn who, like I am, so we have people who do support work, we have other administrative staff as well. We also have a mixture of big stations that are in the city, so a lot of population, and we have very remote country stations where there might only be one police officer working in that whole community. So it's quite a diverse range of situations. We are unarmed. Our police do not carry guns unless there's been a major incident, so that's a point of difference to here. And our police officers new police have 16 weeks of training down at our police college in Wellington, and part of my job is doing some training with them, and then they go and have 2 years where they are probationary or trainee officers, and then they become fully qualified to do the work. So these are our values in police, just so you know what's important to us. Professionalism is one of our values. Respect, so showing respect to each other, to the community, to the people who we serve. Integrity, so maintaining integrity, which can be really difficult for police in some very challenging situations that they are called to assist people with. We're a bicultural country. Our Indigenous people, the Māori, it's really important to us as a government agency that we respect their values and their view of the world. Also empathy, which is really important, and valuing diversity in terms of everybody is different and learning what each person can bring to the work. And I don't know if you can recognise this, but I believe that these values of our organisation really fit well with Solution Focused and the way of interacting with people. So just a little bit about New Zealand. When you think about New Zealand, you probably think of this sort of thing. So the scenery and how beautiful it is, and most of our international visitors come to see the scenery. So this is the beautiful side of our country, of which we are very proud, but New Zealand has a lot of trouble. You may know about some of it, you may not. We have a lot of difference between the people who are doing well in life and the people who are struggling. So we have a large number of our community who are really doing it tough and finding life very difficult. And most of those people are the ones with whom police will interact. We have high rates of suicide, and it's increasing, which is really sad. We have 2% of our people have nowhere to live. We have a high percentage of our children who are living in poverty, and that's become worse after the pandemic, which is really sad. We also have a large amount of family violence, and so we've got really bad statistics about that, of which we are not proud. And a lot of that violence is against children. So police have a lot of interaction with our child protection agencies to try and help these families and help them move forward away from the really sad environments that they are in. So 30% of women in New Zealand have experienced some form of abuse. whether that's physical violence or sexual violence. 13%, as we've said, are living in poverty. 1 in 6 boys have experienced sexual abuse. We have a large rate of homelessness, and we also have a large number of people who are living in temporary housing and for a very long time. So they don't have anywhere to call home, which is incredibly difficult. When I learned solution focused in 2011, I was working with child offenders, so young people under the age of 14 who were offending, getting into a really bad way of behaving. And the purpose of that role was to help them move towards a better life, one where they could succeed and they could thrive. Not long after that, I moved into our family harm team. So that was working with families who were experiencing violence. Often there were children involved who were witnessing the violence quite regularly, and so the impact on society is really bad. We have really bad statistics here as well. In Hawke's Bay, where I live, police spend probably 2/3 of their time attending family harm incidents. So that's a lot. And a lot of them are families that we know well. And during the COVID crisis in 2020, that increased. So not only were we having the families that we knew who were needing help, but also a lot of people who would normally cope well, just that extra pressure from the crisis with COVID. A lot of people found themselves needing police help who wouldn't normally. 1 child is killed every 5 weeks, usually by a family member, and most of those are under 1 year old. So we have these little people who don't even make it to their first birthday, which is really... so the scenery's lovely. Usually if you visit, you won't see any of this, but we have a long way to go with making a country to be really proud of and where people feel safe. So what has Solution Focus got to do with police? A lot of people ask me, how would police even use Solution Focus? Because people think about it as in a therapy world or a coaching world, and they can't seem to understand how police would use it. Well, when you think about police, the nature of the job is that they are called by people who are having the worst day of their lives, and they are at their worst and they can't manage the situation. So the nature of police is that the police officers are constantly dealing with people who are distressed, who are possibly aggressive, and it's an unpleasant job. And so if there's any police here, I just want to really say how wonderful I think you are, because people are basically our police, give their lives to serving the community. And it's a job you can't, it affects you the whole time. You can't just finish work and go home and not think about it. So police I work with the new police, but then I also work with police who have been there a long time, and often they become very cynical, very pessimistic about their ability to make a difference to the families that they're trying to help. And so I think that hope is what they need. And not only for the people that they are helping, the people that they are going to help need hope desperately. And I know for myself as a psychologist, until I had learned solution focused, I couldn't give people that hope. I could talk a lot about how things were going wrong for them and how bad things were, but they already knew that. And I would come away from visits with people feeling like I hadn't been helpful and I hadn't done anything that had been useful for them. And so I was so grateful when I learned this approach, which gave me the ability to give hope to people who so desperately needed it. But also, our police need an approach that gives them hope, that they can make a difference to the people they're trying to assist. And my dream would be that all our police officers can go home at the end of the day, they can go home safe, and they can go home knowing that what they've done has made a difference for the people they're helping. There's good research, and Catalan's already referenced to some of the research around the improvement in people's morale and staff morale and the reduction in burnout, which is really, really important to police. So for me, it's obvious why it's a good fit, because not only does it help our community move forward and get past some of these really difficult problems, but also it helps our police to stay well. Because I think, for me, the solution-focused conversations are a very humanising conversation. And I don't believe you can have a solution-focused conversation with a person and not see them as a human. And in police, that is a real risk of police becoming burnt out and not even seeing the person as a person. And so for me, it's very protective of the well-being of our people. Just want to talk a little bit about what is probably the highlight of my career for me. So I did in 2020 a project working in the police cells. And it was something that came about very much by accident. I was working, teaching solution-focused to police, and I was doing a session with the custody sergeants, so the police who look after the prisoners when they're in custody. And they said to me, this sounds really great, and I'd love to do this, but we haven't got time. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I said to them, well, I'll do it. And then I thought, that's not my job. So I went to my boss and said, what do you think about the idea of going into the police cells and talking to the people who are in there, not about what they've done, but about how they wanted their future to look. And so she said yes to that. And so what we did was initially a 3-week trial just to see whether people actually wanted to have those conversations. I had quite low expectations. I didn't know if that would be something people wanted. So to my absolute surprise, everybody wanted to talk. I was honestly, the first night when I came home, after that first day, I couldn't sleep. I was so excited that the opportunity was there to start these people who are in the police cells. Is a horrible place to be, and it's a lot of time for people to think about how difficult life is and to regret what's happened and to just be in their head in a very bad way. And so it seemed like a great opportunity to get them thinking in a more healthy way, in a way that was more hopeful. So it was questions like, what do you want to be different when you go home? And asking them things like, if we could do something for you while you were in here that would be helpful, what would that be? And so it was very much, and I know if I had done this 11 years ago, it would have been a failure, because I would have gone in wanting to know, what did you do, why did you do it, and being very problem-focused. So this was a really beautiful way of having a conversation with people who are possibly at one of the lowest points of their lives, and getting them to have that voice where they could talk about what was important to them, what they thought would be helpful for them to move forward to a good life, and what support they thought would be helpful for them, rather than me deciding for them what I thought they needed. So it was an amazing experience. I think ended up doing it for a year, and I think I had one person say no to a conversation, and that was because they already had a lot of support. But the depth of the engagement, the conversations, they're mostly men, mostly Māori, and it was really sad, because the vast majority of these people were homeless. They didn't have a job. They were disconnected from their family. They might have addiction issues or other issues. And you can imagine, I can't even imagine having one of those issues to try and deal with. And a lot of these people had 4 or 5. And it's understandable why it's difficult for someone to get their life back together when they have so many challenges. And also, this approach is really consistent with procedural justice, about people having a voice, about people being able to tell their story and know that that will be heard and respected. Okay, this is a group of police in New Zealand. This is the last group of recruits who I trained last month. So we have, every 4 weeks, we have 60 to 80 new police come to be trained. And I do a session with them, a 2-hour session roughly on suicide prevention. So our police have not had any formal training about how to manage those kinds of incidents, which to me seemed a real gap that needed to be addressed. And so I started doing these sessions last year with police, and we speak mostly about suicide prevention using a solution-focused approach, but the skills that they learn they can use in any kind of incident that they're attending. And as has been said already today, in our own lives. I know for me, when I learnt the approach, it changed my work, but it also absolutely changed my whole life. My children, I use it with them, I use it for myself when I'm going through difficult times, so it's so helpful. I use a framework which I'll briefly describe to you, but the police say they get a lot out of it, and what they get is the confidence that they can go and actually be helpful to these people who are in a very dark place and very much needing support. So this is the framework I use. I'm not sure how it will translate, but help in English is a word that police relate really strongly to. Most of them join police because they want to help people. And so the word help is very familiar to them. So what we talk about is firstly, how are they? We all have good days when we are at our best, and we also have days where things are going on for us in our lives, or maybe we're tired, maybe we have jet lag from travelling a long way away, or maybe we just are not in the best space. So first of all, the foundation is how does acknowledging how we are in ourselves before we go to talk to someone else. And with the police, it's also about how are we going to go and be professional in this interaction? How are we going to show empathy to this person? E is for the engagement, so asking ourselves, why am I going to talk to this person? What is the purpose of us having a conversation, and what would success look like? If I do a really good job of this, how am I going to build trust with this person? Because a lot of our community have not had good experiences with police in the past, and so it's about how do we show them a different kind of interaction. The L is about for listening. What are we wanting to find out about? And this is where I think the big shift comes from police traditionally wanting to know all about what happened, the details of that incident, which they still need to gather as well for their own processes. But it's also about being interested in the person's strengths, being interested in what's going well for them, and being interested in who else is supporting them, being interested in them as a person, not just as an offender or a victim. So building that human connection, and again, I think the solution-focused approach really enables those human-to-human conversations. And then partnering for solutions. So rather than going in, driving to the job thinking, well, I'm just going to arrest this person, being open to doing something different. And the comment was made early about, and I loved it, about being unorthodox and innovative. And I think that's what we would like our police to become, to still do things professionally, but to have the courage to think differently and think, what else could we do here? Not just do what we've always done, because what we've always done hasn't always worked. And to be open to listening to what the person needs and working with them to create a solution that will be welcomed by that person or that family, and will help them move forward. This is just some before and after evaluation of the difference that the training makes to police. So the yellow is the before my session, and the green is the after. And so for me, it really reinforces how much difference we can make giving people confidence in their interactions with the public within police. And so that was really great to see, and they just want more of it. They just want to learn how do we talk to people? How do we interact with people in a way that's helpful? So it's been real privilege to be able to do that work. So at the moment, my role is working down at headquarters and at college, and my main focus is developing the leadership coaching framework. So what we are moving towards is a different style of leadership, a different culture within police, and I think Solution Focused is perfect for the things that we want to achieve. And so we want to create leaders who really support their people, who enable their people to be creative in their work and to look after their people's well-being, and but not afraid to ask if they think someone isn't okay, and to just support each other more and have a safe culture within police where people are going home at the end of the day feeling valued and feeling like they're making a difference. So it's about enhancing our capability of our leaders, and I think if we can do both, if we can equip our frontline staff with good skills, but also have the support from the leadership, we can really make a huge difference to the organisation, and it's really, people are urgently looking forward to what differences can make. It's also underpinned by some of our Te Ao Māori principles, so our Indigenous culture, the principles of just respecting people, recognising the strengths that people have, our leaders being humble and recognising that they don't have all the information, and that their people often, they can learn from their staff. It's not always about the leader being the expert. It's about what do we as a team, what do we bring that we can learn from each other and support each other. And this will replace all the existing coaching within police. So it's a huge, it's the biggest opportunity we have to really put Solution Focused through police. And it's what I might call covert Solution Focused. It's definitely Solution Focused, but it's delivered in a way that police understand the language, and it makes sense within the organisation. So thank you very much for listening. I know we don't have time for questions, but if anyone would like to ask anything, I'm more than happy to talk in the breaks or during the day. Thank you.